There we go, and we're live. My guest today is Mike Kemski. We've been having a good time talking even before we got started. Welcome to Fuel Radio, Mike.
Thanks for having me. I love it. This is always a fun thing to do, have conversations about the things that can be interesting for some of us and maybe perplexing for some of us, and just going down these things and kind of just taking them wherever they go. And it's kind of a fun thing. Like I told you before, it's off the cuff, so we're gonna have a good time. Whatever we talk about, we can talk about lasagna if you want to, and it'll be fun. We'll
I hope you weren't creeped out because if we live in this funny world where if there's somebody that you like and you like what they're teaching, you can follow them on Facebook or social media. So I've been following you on social media for quite a while, and there's all these things I know about you, and it's actually kind of weird for me to say, oh, I see that you really enjoy your granddaughter and stuff like that. And we've never met. Exactly. I'm a Facebook creeper,
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love it. I think it's amazing we have that technology where I get to see what all my friends are doing that I don't live near anymore, and you get to know people that you wouldn't otherwise even have, become aware of them, that kind of stuff, with people, things that they write, their content, their lives. And I think it's great. It has its downside, obviously, but for the most part, I look at the positive part of it and really embrace that. So I think it's really cool. I love the technology that we have today. It's pretty neat. It's made life very interesting.
Yeah. So on your website, you share really briefly. You have a great video, introductory video there, and you share briefly that you've been through some stuff, and you were at one point really, really low, and then you discovered these principles, and these principles have changed your life. So maybe you could just expand on your story just a little bit, like what were you going through at the lowest point, maybe how you got there, and then we'll get into some of the things that you discovered and you teach. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a bit of your story, that'd be great.
Absolutely. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's long, and which is fine because it's like a great movie. I actually had a movie company reach out to me and want to make it into a movie.
Oh wow!
Back when I first came out and got exposed to the wild. A movie company from California called me. They're like, hey, we want to make your story into a movie. I'm like, hey, go ahead. Like, yeah, but I'm like, no, go ahead and do it. That's cool. Talk to you later. I have no clue that they wanted to actually do this whole business thing. I was clueless, but it would be a great movie. So yeah, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I'll get the parts that matter to kind of give context around what we'll be talking about and what I've been doing for 30 plus years and why it works and how I discovered it and all this stuff. Because it does give it context and it brings validity to the PowerLife principles of how I live my life today and how it changed my life. So, I grew up in a kind of hostile environment, a lot of poverty, alcoholism, drug addiction, that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to go through that whole thing, but a lot of abuse. And really the main point here that I want to make is I wasn't groomed to have a life like I have today. I wasn't groomed for it at all. And I heard my whole life is this rated PG R? What are we at here? I'll keep.
Yeah, go for it. I think these days Facebook's a little bit, on top of that, but go ahead and
I'll
say what you speak how you want.
I might slip an F-bomb here or there, but I'm rough around the edges a little bit. They call me the enlightened barbarian.
No
whatever.
Problem. Yeah.
So anyway, I was told my whole life basically by my dad and just like, you're a piece of crap, you're a loser, you're worthless, you're stupid, you want to amount to anything, blah blah. That's what I'm getting my whole life. Alcoholism and physical abuse and emotional abuse and mental abuse, and so I was groomed for that, and that's kind of like the life that we lived in, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't. There was no love. I mean, my parents were miserable the whole thing, and my dad basically hated all of us and resented all of us and resented his family. But back then, his dad said, if you want to be a man, you got to do this and that, whatever. So it's all a bunch of drama. It's all silly to me now. But that led me to start to actually believe some of that stuff. That's what I'm hearing as a kid. I'm no good and I'm worthless and I'm stupid and I'm a piece of crap and blah blah blah. So later down the line in life, when I was around 12 years old, I discovered alcohol and drugs, and it was like the magic elixir. It was like, what is this shit? Like all of a sudden I don't have any pain and any fear. My inhibitions are gone, and I'm feeling like, it worked. It worked to like alleviate the pain that I lived in every day. And so obviously I want more of that. So I just kind of like gravitated towards that and got my hands on whatever I could, and there was plenty available to me. So I just kept getting into alcohol and drugs more and more and more. And I became pretty much an alcoholic and drug addict, and at a very early age in life, which is also how I went to rehab at a very early age in life. But I started doing that at 12. And 3 months before my 17th birthday, I checked myself into rehab. I had a crazy experience. I'm not going to go into that right now, but and I just called this rehab center. And the poor nurse that her name was Sheila. She's an amazing lady. And she'd answer the phone, Davis Hospital and Recovery Center. So Sheila, can I help you? And I'm just like, click. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm 16 years old. I'm scared to death. I'm confused. I don't know. I'm miserable. I don't know what to say to this person. What do I say? So I kept calling her back, and I called her back like 20, 30 times. And finally she answered the phone. She's like, are you going to talk to me? I'm like, yes, I am. She scared me into talking to her. And she's like, oh, hi, sweetie. How are you? I'm like, I'm good. How are you? She's like, I'm good. She's like, how can I help you? I'm like, I think I need some help.
Wow.
And she says, what's going on? And I told her about all that I've been doing, where I was at today. I had a little razor blade incident, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I need some help. She's like, how old are you? And I said, I'm 16. And she goes, well, you need your parents to sign you in, to check you in. And I'm like, all right. So I go out, and I go to my, this is so funny to me now. I go to my mom, and I'm like, Mom. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I need to talk to you. And she's like, I'm watching QVC. God damn it. Don't bother me. And I'm like, but I have a drug problem. And I called this rehab center, and they said I can go, but I need you to check me in. I'm watching QVC. Don't effing bother me, you little bastard. Call your dad. I'm like, okay. So I don't want to talk to him, man. He's like, I don't want to talk to him. So he's in the military. So I call him. And he answers the phone, and he's like, Master Sergeant Kemski. And I'm like, Dad, what do you want? And I'm like, oh my God. So it's just hostile. And I'm just like, I'm scared to death. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So he says, what do you want? And I said, well, I called this hospital. I have a drug problem, and I need some help. And they said, blah, blah. And he just goes, quit being an effing pussy, and hung up on me. And I'm like, now what the hell do I do? Like, I don't know what I did what any resourceful drug addict or alcoholic would do, and I lied. I went to my mom. I said, yeah, Dad said to check me in. I knew they wouldn't talk. They were miserable in their whole. I knew they wouldn't. My dad said, you got to sign these papers or whatever. So, and she never got her license. So I hauled her ass to my car, and I drove to the hospital, and I went up there, and they talked to her a little bit, found out about his military insurance. They said, yeah, we'll accept this. Yeah. And then the counselor, Jeff, he looked at me, he said, we have a bed. It's an adult court-ordered rehab center. So the people in here are people who either got out of prison and they're mandated to come here, or they're trying to avoid going to jail. And they're all adults, and they have to stay here. You can come and go as you please because you're checking yourself in, and we'll let you in. We have one bed. And I'm just like, I don't care. You have a bed? He said, yeah. I said, I'll take it. I'll take the bed. He's like, everyone here is going to hate you. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not here for them, and it was rough, man. There were people in there like going through bad detoxes, and like old men that were like on oxygen and like had cirrhosis and dying from alcohol. It was intense. It was a pretty crazy place. Wow. So I checked myself into rehab at 16 years old, and I went through the 21 days, and that was really the catalyst that started changing things. I got a little bit of clarity, and I started to I had all this anger inside of me. I was so angry because I was such a sweet, compassionate, kind, loving, very, very connected to nature little boy. I used to play with bugs and talk to them. They're my little friends and whatever. Kind of a weird thing, but it was cool. I still do actually today. And and so it was a very weird experience. But I had all this anger, and I started working out on bags, just doing all the stuff they told me to do in rehab. And I went to the meetings, and I had the sponsor and all this business in rehab, the 12 steps they do and all that. And I did it diligently, for 2 years. And around when I was 18 years old, I looked at, when I was 18 years old, what really drove this was my counselor and my girlfriend, the only two people I trusted in life. They hooked up and kind of betrayed me. And so I was like, well, now what, man? I don't know. What do I do here? Because these are the only people I go to. And so I kind of just like went through that process and forgave them. But I'm there, and I'm alone. I'm utterly alone. I mean, I don't know. I don't have anybody that I can talk to about what I'm experiencing and going through and how I feel in this rehab stuff. All my friends got sober, but they all relapsed and went back and started doing all their stuff too. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I ended up just being, I said, I've done this for 2 years. 2 years, I've done this stuff, everything you told me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've got some clarity, and yeah, some things have changed in my life, and I've elevated a little bit, and there's some stuff going on there. But all I hear is, you're a piece of shit, you're a loser, you're worthless, you're stupid, you suck, you'll never amount to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, blah, that's all I hear in my head. That's what I was conditioned and trained to believe.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of flopping around from house to house, and I ended up staying at a friend's house, and his mom was deployed in the military, and he had some house sitters, and they were avid hunters. And everybody was gone, and one day my friend came over. Hey, we're gonna go get something to eat, which meant go to Denny's and smoke cigarettes and drink one cup of endless coffee for 69 cents. That's all the money that we had, so we could smoke at the restaurant when I smoked at the time. And so I'm like, no, I don't want to go. They're like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm good, I don't want to go. And they left, and I'm just in this house alone. And I'm like, man, and I, for whatever reason, ended up in the master bedroom. I sat on the bed, and I just started thinking about everything, thinking about all I've done, and what my life was and what it wasn't, and how I felt, and all the things I did, and listened to these experts and gurus tell me to do all this stuff. And I did it all diligently, like very diligently, but I didn't feel anything change. I looked ahead in my life, and I just didn't see, I didn't have any hope. I didn't have any future of all the things that I wanted. A family's like, man, family's always been what I wanted most, is this close, loving family. If I get emotional, I'm going to get emotional, whatever. I value, that's my absolute highest value, is family. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I want a family. I want kids, and I want a wife, and I want grandkids at some point, and all this stuff. And I remember my family telling me, like, you'll never be a grandpa. You can't even take care of yourself. You're a piece of shit. The same thing. And I'm like, just always discouraged. And so I'm sitting on this bed, and I just started thinking about everything, and my counselor and my girlfriend and all this stuff. And I'm like, this isn't working. Mm. And I put my face in my hands, and my elbows on my knees, and I just started crying. I started crying my face off. I'm crying. I don't know what to do. I don't know. I got nobody to call. I don't know what to do. I'm just like, I thought to myself, man, if this is life, I want my money back. This is shit. I'm like, this is crazy. And just, you gotta understand, there was so much energy, and so this vortex of confusion, like being caught in a tornado or a hurricane, and just being ragdolled around and around and around. You can't pin a thought down. And I'm just scared, and I'm angry, and I'm bitter, and I'm lonely, and there's no hope for my future. I can't see anything good happening for me. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, man, I got no drugs and alcohol anymore. I vowed to never do that shit again to escape my life or problems, and I'm not going to go back on that. I'm going to stay true to myself. I've committed to myself to not do that anymore. I don't have that anymore. And I'm just crying, and I look under the bed, and there's a 357 Magnum, and so I grabbed it. And I picked it up, and I'm looking at this gun, and I'm thinking, I'm desperately trying to think, like, give me a reason not to do this. Something. I just and there was nothing, and it was just like, it's just darkness and shit, and I mean nothing, and so I pull the hammer back, and I stick this gun in my mouth, and I'm shaking, I'm trembling, I got snot running down, I got tears, I'm crying like crazy, overwhelmed with energy and emotional energy and just trauma, basically, because of where I was at right then. And it's shaking, and it's cold. It tastes like gunpowder. And I close my eyes real tight, and I'm thinking, man, come on. I open my eyes. I look at the door, and I'm like, please, I'm rocking back and forth, and I'm thinking to myself, please, somebody come in here. Anybody would walk through this door and tell me it'll be okay. I don't care. I don't care if it's a strung out crackhead come in. Hey, you got some crack? It'll be okay, and leave. I don't care what it is. Anybody come in here and tell me it'll be okay. And I'm looking like, please, door open, and it didn't open, obviously. And then so I'm holding this gun in my mouth, and I'm thinking, man, if you pull this trigger, your brains are going to be on the back of the wall, and someone's going to have to clean that up. You are a piece of shit. Your dad was right. You're not worth the air that other people breathe. And this is going through my head with a fucking loaded gun in my mouth. And I'm squeezing the trigger, and my eyes are closed real tight. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to do this. I don't know, but I don't want to live. Why would anybody want to live like this for 80 more years, 8 more seconds? It's stupid. If this is life, I don't want it. Why would anybody want this? And I'm going through all, and I squeeze the trigger, and the hammer drops. And I open my eyes. I pull the gun out of my mouth. And I'm like, am I dead? I don't know what being dead's like. Maybe this is dead. I don't know what being dead's like. I have no idea what the hell happened. And I looked at the gun, and the primer on the bullet was defective, and the bullet didn't fire.
Wow.
And so I'm like just trembling, shaking, and I throw the gun and I scurry away from it, terrified. And then this is kind of funny to me. I hit my head on the wall because I was moving away from now my head. Now my head actually hurts. So I slammed my head on the wall. I mean, it put a dent in the sheetrock, and I was so afraid. And I got it, and I just was trembling, like just out of control, trembling, overloaded completely.
Wow.
And I'm like, what just happened? What just happened? You know, and then when I calmed down enough to stand up, I stood up, and I'm still shaking, like barely can stand up. And I had to move. I started walking and walking and walking. And I'm walking forever. And I lived in this crappy part of town, and this like ghetto-y part of town. It was just like shitty place. And I'm walking and walking. I don't know how long I walked. I mean, it was light when I went out, and it was like the sun was going down when I ended up where I ended up. And I ended up in this little field. And I looked up at, you know, the old billboards on the highways used to have these old incandescent light bulbs that got all crusty and shitty with the orange stuff on them, the dirt and everything.
Yeah.
Light bulb was there, and it's a ghetto part of town. So it's just this old torn up billboard. I don't even know what the billboard said, but this orange glow of this light. I looked up, and it just calmed me down a little bit. And I'm like, I took a breath, and I stopped. I stood still, and I looked around, and I said, okay, that's it, man. And I literally took a step to the side, and I looked over at the echo of who I was. And I said, you just killed the guy that pulled that trigger and gave birth to this guy. Who is he? I don't know. I'm the same jackass I was 5 seconds ago. Only there's a difference. Yeah. I'm living on borrowed time right now. And I looked out in the world, and I said, Mike, it's out there. If you want happiness, if you want success, if you want money, if you want love, if you want a family, if you want all these things you see it out there. Other people have it. You see it in the world. If it's out there, you can have it. And from now on, moving forward, every single thing I do, I'm going to focus on fixing this, figuring this out, fixing this and figuring this out, and fixing this and figuring this out. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what kind of grit I have to go through. I do not care. I made the same kind of commitment when I checked myself into rehab. You're going to do this, or you're going to figure it out, or you're going to die trying because you're on borrowed time. And I just went on this massive quest, journey to figure it out. And I did. It took me forever it felt like, to figure out how I work, first of all. And then I'm like, hey, we all work this way. But how I work as a human being, how the power that, not that I have, but that I am, that everybody is. You know, I always say this to people, you're the power. And they're like, what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. But the power that I have and that I am. And I just started picking up every stone, poking at everything with sticks, metaphorically speaking. I went so deep into my mind, and I analyzed every word, how I felt, it was exhausting. I would never recommend anybody do this because it was exhausting. It was very effective, but I didn't know that there were people like me. I didn't know there was a whole industry of people that taught this kind of stuff. And later in life, when I'm like, hey, they're talking about the thing I do, and they have an actual name, it's like science. Wow. It was so cool to see, like, this is like, I'm not just some crazy lunatic. This is actually real stuff. And so I started to come up with what worked and what didn't work. Everything that didn't work just got flushed. What did work, ultimately, I didn't have names for them. I didn't have like methodologies or whatever. I just knew I would try X and Y would happen. And if Y is what I wanted, I would keep doing X until I figured it out and just distilled it down to its most basic, core, simple, raw element, because I had to. It had to be simple, or I wouldn't have been successful at it. Because I mean, you can go down rabbit holes all day on this stuff, and you just get lost in this maze of wonder and awe, whatever. But F that shit. I wasn't there. I was like, I gotta figure out how to actually create real change in my life, here, and in my environment, and all three together moving forward. And so that process over the first, couple 2-3 years, I started to get better and better at this stuff, and I started to understand like how my body works and how it's all tied together, and how the power I have and all that. And that became the PowerLife Principles over time. And then I started to put names to this, because people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm doing this. Like, what do you call it? I'm like, doing this? I don't know. Yeah. And so it was funny how it actually came to be, because one of my friends that I met, he was a marketer guy right when I started to do like workshops and seminars. He's like, man, this is crazy. I'm going to help you market this. And I'm like, I don't market what? And so he's like, write a book. I'm like, what, write a book? Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about, man? Like, I said, okay, so I did. So I wrote my book and I did all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's when I started naming everything and getting it all organized and structured. And you know, that was back in 2005 when I actually wrote my book and launched it to the world to help people out there.
Mm.
And the impact, it was crazy. Back then it went global before social media because it's just so real and it's just so simple and it's just so powerful, and it works. It's effective, not because I'm some wizard, but because it's how we all work. And when you strip away all of the bullshit and you're left with just the nugget that actually, it's like finding a gold nugget in a big old pile of shit. When you clean all the shit away, like, oh, that's a nugget, that's what I want. I just did that with everything. So it's like, here's the nuggets.
Yeah.
You know, and so that being at the point, the lowest point a human being can be, actually literally doing it, being fortunate and lucky enough that the bullet was defective, gave me a chance to go do something very different with my life. And since that point, I've created everything I possibly could ever. All my dreams. I have a beautiful family. I've been married for 23 years. I've got 2 grown-up daughters. I got a little grandbaby now. And I have this beautiful family. We're very close and loving, and that is by far the most important thing to me. I have my community of people that you know, my coaching group community. That's family to me. I've got my chosen family, my friends, and my relationships are ridiculously strong. And the connection's so powerful, because that's my highest value. I've created plenty of success in business, plenty of money. I've had lots of adventures. I've traveled all over the place. I've done things that I shouldn't have ever been able to do. I should be dead, and I should be somewhere, you know. But I've lived this amazing life and continue to do so, because of the PowerLife Principles. Because I live them. It's not just something I rattle off. I actually live this stuff every day of my life. So having that contrast from being at the lowest point a human being can be to living a life that most people would probably want to live, it's just amazing. It's amazing. I still sometimes I'm like, what happened? How did all this happen? What's going on here? Because sometimes I still don't. I'm like, wait a minute. How did I get from there to here? You know, and it's been 30 years I've been doing this kind of work, but
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like just a snap, because it's the time is a weird thing, and it's and when you're enjoying things, time flies, right? So I'm like, wow, that much time's gone by. It's because it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. So
I'm curious about the early process, like just after that incident happened. Like, how did you? Were you just experimenting on yourself? Were you just kind of open to whatever? Like, you don't talk about the divine much or anything like that. So do you feel like it was within you? Like, what was your process like for discovering some of the principles that you that you practice today?
It's the same now as it was back then. And
Can you describe
really,
that first?
I found every single answer to every single question I have inside of the question itself. But the thing that showed it to me was nature. Just nature. You look at nature and you look at how abundant it is and how perfectly harmonious it is. Whether there's lots of destruction that creates new growth, or lots of growth that creates ecosystems and environments for lots more of other ecosystems of life, and every single little thing, the veins in leaves, grass, the bugs, the nature, the wind, clouds, all of it. It answered every one of my questions when I started to realize, like, you know, there's death and there's life and there's this and that. I started to understand, like, wait, well, this whole entire system's governed by duality. Without that, we can't have anything. Without left, there is no right. Without up, there's no down. There's hot and there's cold. There's seasons. There's this and that. And seasons, oh my God. And so all of it, I just started to really observe nature and how we're not just a part of it, but we are nature. We are nature itself. And I'm like, wait a minute. And so I got back to that connection I had when I was a kid, before I got wrecked, you know, before I realized, like, the world's an evil, shitty place and people are trying to hurt me. Before that happened, I got back to that connection, and I'm like, oh my God. And I started to be able to feel it. I started to be able to feel, like, I mean, it sounds a little weird, but feel like the trees and the life and all of the stuff and the wind and what it did to me, and how literally the impact of the wind on my skin. And I'm like, this is amazing. And tasting a strawberry, and I'm like, oh my God, if I really focus on this, it's so detailed, the little seeds and all that. And I got really hyper present with myself and with my mental. We have 3 primary energy systems that kind of govern our whole lives: our mental, emotional, and physical energy systems. People are like, what about spiritual? That is spiritual. Like, people talk about I'll tell you about spirituality in a minute, how my take on it and what I've learned in this process.
Sure.
But I got hyper present with myself and realized like all this stuff that's happening all by itself without us interacting, all this, I mean, there's planets and there's all this shit, there's stars and there's all kinds of gravity and forces and all this stuff. It's doing just fine without us. We don't need to manage this. I'm like, I wonder if that's the way that we work. I mean, obviously we have consciousness and we make decisions and that kind of stuff, but if we kind of just allow ourselves to kind of just surrender, I guess is a word you can use, to what we are, to this power we are, and to this connection we have, you're never without guidance. You're never without guidance. It's just, it's always there because the questions or the answers live within the questions themselves. So whenever you have a question, it's like a box and you open it. Oh, look at that. The answer's inside every single time. This is amazing. And it just started happening so fast. I just started processing things so fast because I understood how it actually worked, not here, but in here. And a visceral feeling of this stuff. So I would go through, and I literally did this for 1 year. I would go through and say, okay, I'm hungry. What's I'm? I'm's a conjunction. What's a conjunction? It's two words put together. What are the words? I am. What is I? I is referring to me. Who are you? I'm Mike. What does that mean? I'm a piece of shit. No, is that actually true? Is that what you want to believe? Every single, it was exhausting. But I did this for a year, and I started to realize like nothing means anything. No one can tell you what you are. You decide all that stuff.
So it sounds like one of the main things was just questioning everything. Like you were questioning everything that came up, and
I observed and questioned everything.
Observed and questioned. Got really present.
Mean? Yep. What does this mean to me? I'm like, what the hell do you want it to mean to you? It's not like I can say a Ford truck is a unicorn. Oh shit, it didn't work. It's not like that. It wasn't like that weird stuff. It was just like, you know, there's trash on the road. What does that mean? People are assholes. People are disrespectful. And I'd walk in nature. Well, or it means I have an opportunity to do something good. And when you do something good and you take actions that create a better environment for yourself and others, you feel better. Oh my God, I have an opportunity to feel better myself. I learned that everything is actually an asset, that this world and this universe is completely here to support you. And the only way that you get that to live that way is when you understand that you are the power, you are the one that creates all of the perspectives. Principle 3, the power of perspectives. Principle 2, the principle of duality and contrast. And principle 1, highest energy wins. Those 3 principles themselves, those are really what I kept circling back through more and more and more and more again, and created the energy triad system about mental, emotional, and physical energy, how it all works together, how to make it be something that is like a machine, like this power plant that makes you live life like that, where everything becomes an asset. And you just can't lose that way.
Tell me about highest energy wins, because I've kind of seen it in a manipulative kind of context, you know, like sales guys or people who are really salesy. It's like if you're the most energetic, positive person in the room, then you're gonna win. But I think it means something different to you. What does it mean to you?
Absolutely, yeah. That is the antithesis of what it means to me. That's not what it means at all to me. That's manipulation, and that's icky shit. I don't like that stuff. I don't like that. If I have to do that kind of stuff to get someone to buy into like changing their life, you're not ready to change your life. Just go until you're ready. But highest energy wins. It really just means that there's no bias. It's energy. We actually live in this ambient energy. If you take a cubic meter of this stuff that we live in every day, it has enough energy to boil all the Earth's oceans. The stuff that we live in, and it kind of feeds. It feeds life to us, life to life. That's what kind of feeds life, and it comes into our mental processes, and then we kind of digest it, and we make it mean stuff and do whatever. Then it goes to our heart, and then we feel things, and we take actions, all that kind of stuff. But highest energy wins just basically means that, like, if you have a shield and you have a laser, which one's good, which one's bad? Well, I guess it depends on if you're standing behind the shield or the laser, right? It's all perspective. But it doesn't matter. If the shield has higher batteries than the laser, then the shield will win. If the battery has higher or the laser
more
has higher
power, more energy,
then the laser will win. It doesn't matter. So really what it means is that when you go through life and because you ascribe meaning to everything, and you're the one in control of all of this stuff, and you have mental energy, a mental energy system, an emotional energy system, and a physical energy system. So if you keep, and you hear this in all these personal development quotes, whatever, where energy goes, things flows, or whatever the hell they say. And I don't really know what the hell they do in that stuff. I don't pay much attention to it, but they have all these fancy quotes for this, and it's nice to regurgitate and repeat it, but you got to viscerally understand it to make it mean anything to you. So if you were to give more energy to a thought, like a thought in general, period, whatever it is, more than not, then that one's going to start to become the more predominant part. And then as that happens, you start to create your life. With your mind creates your life, your heart fuels it, your body builds it. Start to create this image, this framework in your mind about the worst thing that could happen, or the best thing that could happen, or what if this happens, or what if, and people play the what if game all the time. It's always like, what if everything sucks? Well, what if it doesn't? What if to me it's ping pong. If you don't play it with both ways, then you're not doing it right. But and so you start to build and create more of the stuff in your mind, and then it gets a framework where you're like, whoa, that's kind of scary, or whoa, that's kind of inspiring, and your heart kind of kicks in. And then this process starts to happen of how all life is created through every single one of us, and that will be what you actually look for. And there's a story that I tell sometimes. I'll tell it right now. It's a really cool story. My daughter, when she was younger, she was 14 years old. One of her friends committed suicide. It was tragic. It was horrible. And you should never see a 14-year-old kid in a casket. It was awful. But she was having a really hard time. She was ostracized at school, and she's a cute little popular cheerleader and all this stuff. And there were all kinds of rumors and whatever, but I won't go into the details. But she was having a really hard time. And then her friend committed suicide, and so we went to his funeral, and it was tough. It was hard, but she got back, and you could just see she was just like, ugh. And I'm like, you got to get out of here. You got to change your environment for a minute. And Kelly, my wife Kelly's family lives in Utah, and her dad's got horses and sheep, little farm. And so we said, go and see grandma and grandpa, and go just get away for a week, and just kind of clear your head and go. She loves horses, so go with the horses and do this. So we sent her out to Utah. And this was February, the end of February, and so she gets to Utah. Not an hour later, she's calling me and texting me, Dad, I want to come home. This is stupid. I'm like, what do you mean it's stupid? She's like, Grandpa's being mean and blah 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 blah, and she's just going off on everything that sucks about being in Utah. I'm like, all right, honey, listen, I will bring you home. I'll get you a ticket home, but you got to do one thing for me. She's like, okay, what? I'm like, I want you to find a butterfly and take a picture of it and send it to me, and I'll bring you home. And she's like, Dad, there's still snow. There's still snow. There's no butterflies. There's no butterflies. There's still snow. And I'm like, okay, that's the deal. You find a butterfly, send me a picture of a butterfly, and I'll get you a ticket home. She's like, why are you being so mean, Dad? I'm not being mean. You want a ticket home? I'll take it home. Get to find a butterfly. And she's all mad. And so she goes off, and an hour later I text her, hey, any butterflies? No, Dad, this is stupid. You're being mean. And so we go through this process back and forth a bunch of times. And by the end of the day, I'm like, did you find any butterflies? She's like, no, Dad, there's snow. What don't you understand? There's snow still. There's no butterflies. But I know what I'm doing, but she doesn't know, right? So I'm like, all right, well, maybe tomorrow we find a butterfly. She's like, and whatever. So she wakes up the next day. I wake up and I text her, and I'm like, hey, how you doing, honey? Fine. And then I'm like, okay, any butterflies? And I could feel it. I could feel she's just defeated. She's like, no, Dad, there's no butterflies. And I could feel it. And I'm like, okay, it's time to change this up a little bit. I said, listen, what did I ask you to do? She's like, you told me to find a butterfly and take a picture of it and send it to me, and you'll give me a ticket home. I said, yeah, exactly. Did I say what kind of butterfly? Did I say anything specific about the butterfly? She's like, no, but there's no butterflies. It's still snowy. And I'm like, I know, but I just said butterfly, period. That's it. And she's like, oh. I'm like, maybe you should change the way you're looking for butterflies. And she's like, oh. And she got it. Not a half hour later, I'm bing. Oh, there's a butterfly on a paper plate. Bing, there's a butterfly on shower curtains. Bing, 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 bing. I'm getting all kinds of texts from butterfly, all kinds. I mean, there's very significant to us. I have this butterfly right there. People,
cool.
my group made me this thing for my birthday. It's beautiful leather work, but butterflies are everywhere. And so, she started sending all these pictures of butterflies. And when she was done, and I texted her. I'm like, okay, cool, you did it, you got it. I will get you a ticket home, but I want you to I called her, actually. I said, I want you to understand one thing. And she's like, what? I said, when you went out to Utah, what were you looking for? What were you telling me? She's like, well, it was stupid and it sucked. I'm like, because why? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, because you were looking for all the reasons why it sucked, right?
Yeah.
Highest energy wins. You were looking for every reason why it sucked, and you will find it. You will
Yeah.
find every reason why this world is a shithole if you look for it, because it is, if you look for it.
Yeah.
And I said, but when I gave you a task to look for something else, even though it was impossible, you fully, totally believed it was impossible, but you still ended up succeeding and finding it because of you changed the way you were looking for it. You changed you let go of expectations and just started looking for this stuff. And then you started to get excited because you were finding them everywhere. There's butterflies all over the place. They've always been there. You just haven't been looking for them. Just like when you go buy like a Ford truck, all of a sudden they're raining out of the damn sky.
Yeah.
It's not like you just materialized them out of thin air. They've always been there. You're just not looking for them. And I said, so honey, if you look for all the reasons why it's good, you'll find it. If you look for all the reasons why it's bad, you'll find that too. And that's going to determine how you experience life all the time. So why don't you take a minute and just go hang out with grandpa and then tell me if you want to come home. And she's like, okay, I got it, Dad. I text her an hour later. I'm like, hey, you want to come home? No, I'm having fun. We're getting ice cream. And she stayed the whole week and had a great time.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like it's about the power of perspectives and highest energy wins and all these three principles, the first three principles and PowerLife principles.
Yeah.
But highest energy wins really just means that you get to decide what is in your life and what it means to you and what you need to make it mean to you in order to support and serve and benefit you.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to that. The power that you have and that you are isn't determined by anything out there. It's always in here.
Yeah.
And then make out there be what you need it to be to support how you want to feel in here.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, you must encounter a lot of people who maybe just decide that it's fate, like they don't have a choice in the matter. Like it almost seems too simple in a way that you have the power to decide. But your story's such a great example, and I have one too. Do you mind if I share one real quick?
No, yeah, please.
So my youngest daughter, she used to have tantrums all the time, and it must have been like the perfect moment. But my dad picked her up one time and said, Jess, you can decide if you want to be happy or you want to be grumpy right now. And it somehow it clicked. He just put her down, and it just kind of became a thing. And whenever she would get into that mode, we would just say, Jess, you can decide. And it whatever my dad said to her at that time impacted her, and it worked for her. Like it's sort of been a life lesson for her, is that she can choose. She can choose to have a tantrum, or she can choose to be happy or look at life differently than she's looking at it.
It's amazing, and it really truly is incredibly amazing to look at how much people struggle with the simplicity of it.
Yeah, I just want to stop you just for a sec, Mike, because I think what's so amazing is to look at where you came from and having those voices, the trauma of that. The trauma of your upbringing and everything, like a lot of people don't recover from that kind of trauma, right? But it just shows like that's an incredibly deep and life impacting upbringing and things that happened to you and what you were told. But it just shows that it's simple, but it works, right? Like it's that power of choice. You're a testament to that.
That's it, man. And that's the thing. That's what I really focused on. Because I've been doing this for a long time, like three plus decades, and I've talked to tons of people, and I've got global. I mean, there's a ton of people, ton of examples, and a ton of testimonials, and all this stuff, and it always works. Why? Why does it always work? Because it's simple enough to digest and understand and do. You don't have to. We're not built to expend energy. We're built to conserve energy. And so if you start getting into all this super elaborate, complex rabbit hole shit, where it's just like we get lost in mental masturbation and like, oh my God, this is mind blowing and fascinating. Yeah, but what did you start off doing? You're trying to make popcorn. Like, come on, man. Like, why are you talking about like creating planets and universes and shit? You're trying to make popcorn. Like, that's what people get lost away from what they're really trying to do in the moment by moment, with this successive progression to create and build and fuel your life. But the thing is it's the simplicity that makes it doable. Without that, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And that's why I'm so adamant about it. But it really is like an oxymoron, or I don't know if that's the right word. I make up my own words all the time, but it's like, it's not complicated enough to accept that it works.
Yeah.
There's no possible way that this, well, I mean, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people around the world that are living testimonies that it does, because it's you. You are the power. You're the one doing this stuff.
Yeah.
I talk about this a lot. This is what I focus. I don't focus on like tools and meditations and that kind of stuff. And I don't care about that, because what I've found in my experience personally is that when you focus on you, that stuff is just very natural. I can go into a meditative state instantly. I can, and the chakras and all this. I don't know about all that stuff, but I know my shit's aligned when I want it to be aligned.
Yeah.
Because I can feel it. I can feel the power flowing. I literally viscerally can feel it. I'm like, whoa, I'm like the Hulk. I can feel it. And so it naturally happens when you focus on you, because a tool is only as effective or as powerful as a person using it. Hammers don't build houses. People that pick up the hammers and swing them build houses.
Yeah.
Tools are great, and they help and they aid, and they can get you more progress and get you more clarity and keep focused on the actions and the efforts and keep you aligned with what you're trying to do. Tools are fantastic. They work and they're helpful. But people give them too much credence and too much power, and they're looking for some magic from these tools. Tools aren't magic. You are magical. I don't believe in magic. I believe in magical, but you are magical because you're the power. You're the person using this tool. And when you do this the right way, these different tools and things in life, and just the superpower that everybody has, the power of perspective. That is a human superpower. You can turn a pile of shit into $1 million. Literally. You can turn a rock into $1 million.
Yeah.
Literally. People have done it. This guy's like, I need to make some money. He grabbed a rock, he painted some googly eyes on that shit, and sold it as a pet rock in the 80s, and he made $1 million.
Yeah.
Right? So
he changed everybody's perspective, right?
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
so the thing to understand is that without you, none of this stuff exists or matters. It doesn't matter. So what I focus on is like, if it's really you that is the power, that has the power, that does this, and it's your life and it's your experience, why don't we focus on that, on empowering that, supporting that, and strengthening that more so than some arbitrary tool that may or may not work for you. I mean, one of my friends he's got a PhD from Harvard, and he did a big study in his dissertation on enlightenment and this path to enlightenment and all this stuff. And we've talked back and forth, and he found that there's all these tools like focusing and release technique and meditation and different various things in this world, the spiritual world and the personal development world. And he said that, if people do the wrong thing at the wrong time, they're screwed. Because he's way smarter than me, but he told me why and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, but if you just focus on you, and you focus on your awareness and what you're giving your highest energy to, if you focus on the idea and the reality that we live in this capsule of duality, our world is governed by that. So if there's shit, there must be gold. If there's good, there must be bad. That's how I did all this stuff in my own life. And then you get to ascribe meaning and make it mean through perspectives. And then I don't believe in the law of attraction per se, but principle 4 is the principle of attraction. And you get all this stuff that goes with the PowerLife principles. Like, you don't even need those tools. Like, it happens naturally, just like breathing. We are built to be connected. We're built to be in tune with the universe and people and the connection. We're connected. Everybody believes this. Everybody from like even the most staunch atheists and whatever those people, most people believe in this universal connection. That we're all, because it is. If you do this, you can feel the air. Well, if I can feel this stuff, and it's here, and it's in Australia too, it's still one fucking thing. It's all connected, right? Somehow it's all connected. But when you get to that point where you are more in tune with yourself, and you focus on empowering and supporting yourself, and making it so you are better at swinging a hammer per se, most of the time, those tools don't do anything for you anymore, because you don't need them. And so there's a process that they help you get to a certain place, and they help you strengthen, like weights. People people talk about this a lot. It makes me crazy. The resistance-free life. What? You mean the atrophied life? The atrophied muscles, atrophied mind, atrophied heart, atrophied connections? No, you need resistance. You need it. It's healthy. Too much will hurt you. Not enough won't help you. But there's this sweet spot, like lifting weights. It's the same thing mentally and emotionally. These weights make your muscles strong. You need that resistance, and you need that resistance mentally and emotionally and in your environment to challenge you, to not only keep you strong, but to keep you engaged with life, to keep you challenged, to keep you like invigorated, and to see the wonder and the awe, and to enjoy the art and science of actively living. then you get to live this life. You're like, life is awesome. It's so fun all the time. Not all the time. Sometimes it's just like, okay, I'm staying in bed and life can just piss off today. But most of the time, it's fun. It's great.
I'm getting a kick out of this, Mike, because my dad is watching, and so it's one of the fun things about being live and having comments. So my dad says he loves this guy. He says he's amazing, and he says you are the product with an exclamation mark. So it's something my dad have been talking and I have been talking about a lot, quite a bit. Is like you are be the product of the product. So
yeah.
I
am that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I am that for sure. Yeah. I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't. That's another thing too, is none of this stuff is lip. Sometimes it gets really boring to me. I'm like, how do you not know this? But I also they haven't been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah.
And it does it's an amazing thing to watch. People in my group, and I don't do personal coaching anymore, but this kind of stuff, I've watched people, they're just like, oh yeah, and I get it, and they're intellectualizing this stuff and all these principles, and then one day they're like, what the and I'm like, what? Like, oh my God, like what? Like, I get it. Yeah. And they do, and then all of a sudden it's like when you crack open that cage, whatever the hell metaphor you want to use, and like one photon of that light that they are comes out, and they're like, oh, look at that! Like, yeah, that's you. And then once you do that shit, you can't put that genie back in the bottle. They're like, I'm that. I want more of that. And then their life just continues to expand, not without trials and tribulations and peaks and valleys and ups and downs and flat tires and your dog puked on your bed. Yeah. That life still happens. There's not this like magical play. I haven't found it where life stops happening, but it's a different experience you have with it. Mm-hmm. And it's not like, oh yes, I'm so grateful and appreciative and whatever that my dog puked on my bed because it means I have a dog. No, it sucks, man. Your dog puked on your bed. You got to change the sheets and all a bunch of bullshit. That's the thing that I think is just so funny is there's people that go on the extreme where it's just like happy face stickers for everyone. No, that's not, you're people that do that. They're taking like half of what they are and fighting the other half of what they are, rendering themselves neutral and powerless. Because we're supposed to have the whole spectrum of emotions. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to be frustrated. Not only is it okay, it's necessary because it's a guidance mechanism. It's what, like fear. People like fear. They're the only thing to fear is fear itself. No bullshit. Fear is a very useful energy. It's a very useful thing. My acronym for fear is focus energy at results. When you're afraid, what happens? When you're in a house, a creaky ass old barn or whatever, and you're house sitting for some crazy farmer, and it's all dark and like the wind comes in and the house is creaking, you're like, what is all this shit? Is it a vampire? A werewolf? What's gonna happen? And you start to get that crazy stuff in your head. You're laying in a dark bed. What happens? You freeze. And then what happens? Your senses elevate. You can hear like a vampire where you see in the dark and you're like super fast moving and all this stuff. Your senses are elevated because it creates hyper focus when you're afraid. It creates hyper focus. So when you're afraid of rejection or whatever, it gives you this opportunity to focus on whatever the hell it is that you need to focus on. And then to me, what I say is focus energy at results. What do you want to have happen? What do you want? That's the biggest question. I ask people this all the time. What do you want? I don't know. Well, then you get a whole bunch of I don't know. What do you want? I don't want this. Cool. What do you want? And it's so hard for people to answer that question. So I go back to like, okay, so we're at a hamburger place. I mean, you have to get this way with people sometimes because we're not trained. We're not taught to like express what we want. We're like, you're going to buy these shorts and that shirt because that's what's available. Well, what if I don't want that? We're conditioned in this life to a certain degree. But like, I'm like, if you're at a hamburger joint and you have the option of a hamburger sandwich or a chicken sandwich, pick one. Hamburger. Good. That's practice for deciding what you want. And people have to start there sometimes. I had to start there. I didn't know how to I didn't know any of this stuff. I had to start there and just build it from there. But the point is like the way that you live life is very different when you're living it from your power. That's what we talked about this a little earlier. Because you realize that you're not a victim. Yeah. And let me just make a distinction here because yes, there are victims in life. Right. My daughter and my wife and my other daughter and myself, we've all been victims. Sure. We've all been victims. Yeah. But that doesn't define who we are. We get to decide what we do with that stuff. That's the biggest thing is like, I'm a victim, but I'm not powerless. I don't have to let that situation define me and say, well, for the rest of my life, I'm not going to trust men, or I'm not going to trust business partners because they screwed me over or whatever. No, we get to decide what we do with that. There are victims in life. That whole thing, there's no victims. Yes, there are. Yes, there are. Come on, man, get out of here. That's crazy. There's no victims. People are victimized every day.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you need to remain a victim. It means you have some information, you have some experience that you can use. Highest energy wins and duality. If there are dishonest people, that must mean that there's honest people in the world. Well, highest energy wins. What are you focused on? The honest ones. Cool. Perspectives. All the PowerLife principles come into play here, and you start to just rearrange and change how you think and how you look at the world, and the world becomes different. It's the same damn place. The same flagpoles are there and street signs and everything else, but it becomes different, and a different experience for you that you get to really kind of sculpt and create like a bunch of human Legos. I don't know how else to put it. It's cool, man. It's cool to have that kind of power and really. Sometimes, some days, I'm going to say this too, because I don't think people say this enough. Some days it's like a pain in the ass to have that responsibility. Like, oh, I create everything. I got to create it. Some days I don't. I'm just like, you know what? Here, I got something for you, life. I'm going to the lake on my kayak, and I'm just gonna like look at fish and turtles for 2 hours because I don't want to deal with it. Yeah. So it's not like this epic, enigmatic guru type thing that you become, and you're like, no, and you're floating in the sky and all this kind of shit. It's not like that. But I'll tell you what, I've had the experience of both sides of life, and given the choice, I would choose this every time, every single time. It's so much better.
Excellent. Well, that's a good way to wrap things up. There was, I could talk to you for a long time. I have hardly touched any of the questions that I had for you.
I know I go on. I babble.
No, but it was all good. And I'm actually looking forward to going back and listening to this again. It's hard to really absorb while you're doing an interview. There's all kinds of other things going on. But yeah, you made some great points. I love that about focusing the energy on on results. That's a great one. Just one quick story. I lost my job a couple years ago, and I was working with a coach, and they had me do this exercise where I just wrote pages of what do I want, and out of that I realized I want to work from home. I don't want to have a boss again. I want to be doing more of what we're doing right now, and it's worked out. Like, I've focused my energy on that, and I've been able to support myself. And there's been some lean months, there's been some tough months, but figuring out what I wanted really helped. So yeah.
You have to. That's what in my PowerLife Highest Energy Wins Challenge. It's what we focus on. It's like going hunting without a target. Like going to shoot a bow and arrow without a target.
You're right.
You gotta have something to shoot at, or you're never gonna hit it. Like Wayne Gretzky, that quote, he says, like, you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, let's add to that shit. You'll miss 100% of the shots that you do take if you don't have a net. Right? You gotta have a net. You gotta
That's
have
good. Yeah.
Right? So you gotta have that too. I mean, it's not just about taking shots in the wind. It's about having that target. So that what you want is a very, very, very important question for people to answer that for themselves. And it can be hard. It can be challenging sometimes. But just stay diligent, stay at it, and you'll figure it out.
So as far as getting in touch with you, powerlifesystems.com, right, is your website. Where would you recommend people kind of start? Like, if they want to engage you in a conversation, what would you recommend?
This works.
Just call you up.
Hit me up the email. We'll do an interview. No, have a conversation. No, Facebook is something that is a way to do that, and really the best thing to do this, and this might sound salesy, but is to be part of my community. That's where all of the magic happens. That's where I'm in there always, all the time, because it's about empowering and supporting our members and myself and all this kind of stuff. But and we're just getting that situated and going back again right now anyway. So it's not really all that structured right now. PowerLifeSystems.com is getting redone at the moment because it's just awful. This is something that I've been cleaning up a mess for a year with past business stuff. So I haven't really done a good job because it's not my wheelhouse. Sure. This is my wheelhouse. But now I've got my team. So now I'm like, okay, cool, we can do this. Great. But that's probably the best. If you really want a conversation or communication, that would be the best way to do it.
Sounds
I
good.
really try to get in touch with people when they reach out to me as best I can. But I mean, there's only so much time in a day, so I can only do what I can do. But
Yeah.
that would be the best. PowerLifeSystems.com, and then there's ways in there like you'll be there's. I don't even know if you can buy my book right now. I've got.
It is on the website. So
Yeah, my book my book, and where is it? Here we go.
Yeah, you got it.
Shameless self promotion. No, it is a really great book. I actually read it myself, but that will kind of give you an overview of the PowerLife principles if you want to learn them. And then just you can look into the challenge, you can look into the community, and everything that I do and all my trainings or stuff. I don't just sell those things outright. They're all part of support in my community because I'm adamant about having support and guidance, because that's all really anybody needs. I mean, anybody can get a program or a product and go through it, but if you don't have someone there going, oh, there's a landmine right there, don't step there, step on that side. I think there's a better way to help people in this world than just like, here you go, run along. Like, no, let's have support and guidance and have community and empowerment and relationships that kind of help people move forward. Because that's really what we need. I mean, we are each other's greatest gift and assets, and without each other, there's really no reason to have much life at all. You can have all the money and all the stuff in the world, but like, hey, look, I bought this. I look at that. Oh, there's no one here, right? We have to have each other. So,
thanks, Mike. I really appreciate this. With Fuel Radio, I just switched everything. I just want to have meaningful conversations, and you delivered today. So I appreciate that. Thanks for all the wisdom that you shared with us, and hopefully we can stay in touch. And I will do a watch party so people can watch this again. I'm not sure when, and I'll send you lots of links, and we'll keep sharing your message. So
awesome, Rod. Thanks for having me, man. It was really fun. It was a great conversation.
Right on.